What I'm about to say might put me in a lot of trouble, but at this point, the truth needs to be questioned, and I need you all to listen. Pay attention, because something isn't right with the Henry Todu Salem story, especially the one that the police sold to us. What really happened to Henry Todu Salem, the journalist who went missing on October of 2021? Did the police lie to us? And were we right all along that there were more to the story than what was said to us? When I first did the story, I knew I had my doubts. I knew that there was something not right. I remember saying that I don't buy what these people are selling to us. And we just let it go because there wasn't anyone challenging the story. However, as it stands now, there is a chance that we were right all along. And there is a possibility that this young man was killed by a group of people long before he might have been run over by a vehicle. For those who don't remember, in October of 2021, Vanguard journalist Henry Todu Salem went missing after covering a House of Rep meeting. At first, we suspected he had been kidnapped by political bodies who wanted to silence him for only God knows what. But after 29 days, the police came out to tell us that they have found the person who killed Salem. Are you seeing this? We went from a missing person to being told that they found his killer. It's like, how did we skip the part that he was dead? Maybe the press had a role to play in this, because from what I know, stories develop. If someone went missing and the person is actually dead, we would want to know the person is dead first before we now know that they are looking for the killers. But this young man was a missing person up until the 29th day when we were told that his killers has been found. It's like, wait, he's dead? We weren't told he was dead first. How come all of a sudden we are now knowing that there is a killer to be looked for? But they claimed it was an accident. The driver who ran him over was interviewed on national television, and he revealed that he had knocked someone down on his way heading home. It was said that when this man hit when this driver knocked down whoever he thought he had knocked down, he drove to a checkpoint where he told the police officers that he had hit someone. But he couldn't come down to check because, he was afraid for his own life. Well, he did the right thing there by telling the police at the checkpoint. However, the police at the checkpoint told this man to go to the police station to report himself. They didn't even escort him, they didn't even take him there, or at least take him back to the site where he had knocked someone down. And so, this driver by the name of Itoro was entrusted with the responsibility of reporting himself at the police station, even after telling a group of policemen at the nearest checkpoint. He went back to his car park, parked his car, and went home to sleep. He did not report himself to the police. Okay, so after that happened, that same day where it is believed that Salem had been knocked down and is lying down on the road dead, it was said that a group of people, police officers, were the ones who took his body to the morgue. Now, it's unclear if it's the same police officers at the checkpoint, but I'm sure maybe someone had seen something and had called the right authorities, and some group of people in authority came to take the body to the morgue. So I guess that was what happened that same night. The next morning, this driver Itoro went to where he parked his car only to see a phone in the windscreen that is believed to be the person he had knocked down the previous day. Now, it's unclear if it's the next morning or that same night when he got to the park, but it was said that he went to his windscreen and saw the phone from the person he had knocked down and threw the phone away. I'm guessing the phone would have been damaged or something. He threw the phone away, and a group of other people picked up the phone and decided to sell parts of the phone or the entire phone. But they ended up using the SIM card in the phone, which was the Salem's SIM card, to make calls or do whatever they wanted to do. It was when the SIM card came on that the police traced Salem's phone and found these young boys with the phone, and through that they were able to tell the police where they found the phone, and because of that they were able to find the driver Itoro, who had already told a group of policemen at the checkpoint that he had knocked someone down. And when he repeated the story over, the police basically just connected the dots and said that, okay, this man who had gone missing for almost 29 days was knocked down by a hit and run driver, and eventually they brought him out to national television to tell his story. And so that is actually how the police investigation went in explaining the disappearance and death of Todu Salem. Also, just for side note, the family of Todu Salem at the time of him going missing within those 29 days got a phone call from someone who was demanding ransom, almost as if they had kidnapped him. So that was like one of the stories that came in between the 29 days, that Salem was under captivity and they needed a certain amount of money to bring him home. So that was one of the calls the family received from a total stranger. So that wasn't a lead to nowhere. I just believe that was just someone trying to milk the situation and see how he or she could benefit from the tragedy that was already about to play. So because of that too, a group of people felt that Salem had been kidnapped and abducted. And so that was one side of the story that you just have to be aware of. Another thing again, when his body was taken to the morgue, it was marked by the people working at the mortuary that this was an unidentified body. So that was how it was marked, unidentified body. So that is the police story. That is the police version of what happened to Todu Salem Henry. So in summary, we're meant to believe that this young man was killed by a hit and run driver. However, when I spoke to the family of Todu Salem, in fact, they reached out to me telling me that they don't agree with what the police came up with. They don't agree with the story. They don't agree with what the police investigation came out with, because they eventually got to see their brother's body. They got to see their son's body. They got to see Todu Salem's remains. And when they did see it, they ran a private autopsy for him. They realized that the police might have gotten their investigation wrong. And I really wanted to hear what they found out. I really wanted to know what their discovery was. And boy, when they shared it to me, I agreed with them. I always knew from the onset that there was something about the story that wasn't adding up. The sister shared a picture of Todu Salem's body with me, and there were two pictures. One of the pictures was him in the morgue, and another one was him on the road where it is believed that he had been run over. So you see, apparently the people who had come to pick his body up to take to the morgue took pictures of him on the road where he had been knocked down. I guess that is protocol. So they took pictures of his body on the road where it is believed, or when it is believed, that he had been run over by the said Itoro vehicle. And when I saw pictures and the condition of Todu Salem's body on the road, it looked like there were more done to him than just a hit and run. His body looked beaten. I mean, I have never been knocked down by a car before, but he didn't look like he had only been run over by a vehicle. He had a slight gash on his head, and his body was opened to his stomach. His legs was broken and folded in a way as though someone had tried to squeeze him into a traveling box. The only impression I got from that picture, where his ankle was folded like a sandwich or what, it gave me the feeling of when you want to put someone into a box, when you want to fold someone into a space and their legs kind of elongates past the space, so they have to cut it and fold it. That was my impression from what I got from that picture. It gave me that vibe. Maybe when you see it, you can make your own judgment. But from what I saw, that was a vibe I got instantly, because I don't understand how the leg came this other way. How did the car run over him? Did this man drive 4 times running over him from different side of the road? If it was just a one swipe hit and run, the damage that was done to this man's body was a little enormous. I don't believe for one moment that this was done by just one vehicle and one swipe, unless they meant to tell me that multiple vehicles came running over him, which still would not explain something. There is still something that this would not explain, and you're about to be shocked. The strangest part about Todu Salem's body on the road that suggests that he had been run over by a vehicle, that suggests he had been hit by a car, is that with all the injuries, broken bones, open stomach, gashed head, there wasn't any blood on the floor. Not a single blood. I had to zoom the picture, although there were fluid looking thing that seemed wet around it, but I would guess it's dew or other bodily fluids. But as far as blood is concerned, there wasn't any single blood stain around and even on the injuries, apart from the open flesh that looked reddish. You would think with that kind of injury, with that kind of massive gash, blood would be flowing all around him. but there wasn't any blood. The sister pointed it that there wasn't any blood. I saw the pictures and I did not see any blood stains on the road. And then when they took his body for autopsy, the result came out to suggest that Todu Salem died as a result of being beaten and tortured. Of course, there's a chance that he had been run over, but the results suggested that this man was tortured to his death. But when the pathologist wanted to know the time of death, they needed to check his blood to know, because that is how they can tell how long he had been dead for. However, according to the sister, when the pathologist wanted to run that test, he did not find a single blood in this man's body. He couldn't find one single blood. Not a drop of blood was in this man's body to be able to tell the time he was killed. And I would have thought that, okay, fine, he had already been in a mortuary for 29 days where he was marked as unidentified. Maybe to preserve his body, they had to embalm him, and I know for embalming to occur, his blood would have to be drained out of his system and replaced with embalming fluid. That would have been the natural explanation to this situation, that the morgue where he was put at first took out all his blood to embalm him just to preserve his body. But it doesn't make sense here, because even at the crime scene itself, there wasn't any blood. It's almost like, where is the blood of Todu Salem? What happened to his blood? Did this man not have blood running in his body all along, or what? Are these people trying to tell us that this man did not have blood when he was alive? What happened to Todu Salem's blood? How can someone have so much gash and injuries, cuts and opens in his body, and still no blood? This is the biggest puzzle I've ever seen. This is my biggest concern with this story. When the family told me, where is the blood of Todu Salem? What happened to the blood of Todu Salem? Was it used for rituals? Or did the people know that with that blood they could be able to tell when he died, and so they took it all out just so that no one can actually find out when he died? Is there a chance that this man did not die by the hit and run? Is there a possibility that he had already been killed and thrown in the road to make it look like a hit and run? Is that a possibility? Another strange part to the story is when his body was taken to the morgue and marked as unidentified, this man had in his pocket his ID card and other means of identification. So what happened to those things? Didn't the people at the hospital see that this man had a means of identification? Why did they go on to mark his body as unidentified when his name, passports, and other means of identification was in his possessions right there on his body, in his clothes? Was this an honest mistake from the side of the hospital, or did they know what they were doing when they marked his body unidentified, even knowing that he had a means of identification, even knowing that after many days, for 29 days, people have been calling to find this man, that he has been missing? His pictures has been everywhere, around the same axis where this hospital is. It's not like his body was taken to another state. In the same community where this man's body was locked in the morgue, that same community were holding up his pictures, asking people if they have found him. So they mean to tell me that nobody in the hospital for 29 days noticed that the unidentified body they had in their morgue belonged to this man on the television being searched for. I'm sure the biggest question here is, what really happened to Henry? What really happened to him? But my own question is, will all of these details do anything? Because the family are still calling for the police to look into the case again. And I'm asking myself, will the police take a second look at this case, knowing damn well that these details are actually heavy and damning, and they suggest that something more could have happened to this young man? Would they resume investigation? Or do they already know all of these and just chose to tell us a different story from the onset? The fight for justice for Todu Salem is still ongoing. The family are still hoping that justice will be brought to him. So I would like to hear your thoughts on this story. Do you think that there is actually more to what we were told regarding the hit and run? Do you believe that there's an explanation to why this man would have an accident, a major gash and major injuries and body opening and his intestines coming out and no blood on the floor? Is there a possible explanation to why there was no blood on the scene? And do you think the police will look into this again? Do you think they already know the actual story? Is it possible that they know what really happened to him and just decided to cover it up? Because if they don't, if they're as lost as we are, I would hope that they will revisit this man's case and try to find justice for his family. Thank you for watching.